If you're involved in the real estate industry at all, you know that the rules are they're changing faster than ever before.
Oh, absolutely. For decades, the system felt completely locked in, governed by these, national mandates.
And now that whole foundation is shaking. Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a huge, sweeping administrative overhaul. We're talking about 18 policies within the National Association of Realtors MLS handbook that were just repealed or amended.
And this isn't just a mundane paperwork.
No. This is NAR actively and systematically dismantling rules that they've defined the industry for decades. We've gone through the sources, the internal memos, the assessment reports, all the specific policy language, and we're going to cut through the administrative fog to find what this really means for you.
Right. What does this decentralized new world actually mean for competition, for cost, and for control?
So where does this all come from? What's the motivation?
The context for this change is, it's everything. These 18 repeals stem directly from the MLS policy risk assessment.
The one from November 15, 2025.
That's the one commissioned by NAR's Presidential Advisory Group. This wasn't really a choice for modernization. It was a strategy to mitigate legal exposure.
So it's about risk.
The motivation is completely transparent. It's about reducing antitrust liability and decentralizing control. They are systematically removing any national policy that could look like it's standardizing practice or mandating costs.
And pushing those decisions down to the local level.
Exactly. Down to the local multiple listing service.
Right.
So our mission today is to show you that these 18 changes, they all point in one direction. Local MLS discretion, way less national bureaucracy, and a whole lot more flexibility.
And that flexibility is where brokerages can really start to gain a competitive edge.
It is.
And that edge starts, first and foremost, with cost. We're starting where the really tectonic shift is happening, separating the MLS key from the association membership key. If you look at this entire stack of repeals, the most immediate and impactful ones are all about making MLS access independent of association dues.
Right. It completely changes the financial barrier to entry for agents.
So let's look at the three policies that really rewrite that agent cost structure. First, the old national statement that supported mandatory association membership for MLS access, that's gone. Policy statement 7.7.
And that one repeal is seismic. Previously that national statement was the default justification for mandatory membership. You had to pay NAR, state, and local dues just to get MLS access. By removing it, the decision over who gets access now rests purely, totally, at the discretion of the local MLS.
Which means direct cost savings for new agents and the brokerages recruiting them.
A massive recruiting tool.
Yeah. If you're a brokerage in multiple markets and you can recruit agents who can skip thousands in annual dues, assuming the local MLS allows it, that completely changes the economics of how you grow.
And that cost saving is coupled with a huge improvement in speed. That's thanks to the repeal of Policy 7.25.
That was the old procedure, right? Where the local MLS had to notify the state and national associations when a non-member wanted access.
That's the one. It was this complex, bureaucratic national procedure.
That paperwork just created so much friction. I remember hearing stories from brokers trying to onboard, say, an experienced appraiser or commercial broker.
Someone who didn't want the full membership.
Exactly. And that national notification process could delay access for weeks.
That whole bureaucracy is gone. Decisions are faster because they're local. You don't have to loop in state or national. The pitch to a recruit is no longer you have to wait for national approval. It's we'll process you directly with the local MLS.
It just accelerates everything. Time to production for new hires goes way down.
And to really drive home this commitment to clean, decentralized control, they also repealed Policy 7.55.
Which was basically just clutter at this point, a redundant local option.
Yes, its removal just simplifies the rulebook. So you take these three repeals together, the mandatory membership rule, the notification paperwork, and the redundant local option. The outcome is clear.
Substantial cost savings and a huge improvement in speed.
It removes the single biggest point of friction that the old world structure imposed.
Okay, so we've covered cost and speed to market, but what about the agent once they're actually onboarded? Let's move from access to utility, training requirements, and data rights.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Two policies related to national training templates have been removed, 7.38 and 7.92. These were the ones that detailed orientation mechanics, specific exams, duration, timelines.
And this is such a fantastic step toward practicality. In the past, you'd have a national rule for, say, a 3-hour ethics course in a specific format.
Right.
The local MLS had to comply, even if that content was totally redundant or irrelevant to their tech stack. It was the definition of one size fits all.
And now?
Now onboarding is faster, training is lighter, and it's all customized to the local MLS system. It's basically learn the tools you actually need to use. Skip the boilerplate classes you don't.
You have to wonder how many MLS was even using those templates, or if they were just annoying compliance hurdles they had to check off.
It definitely cuts out a lot of busy work. But the really strategic shift in this segment is Policy 7.58. That's the one that governs Internet Data Exchange, or IDX.
Okay, and this policy was amended.
Amended to remove the option to limit IDX rights only to realtors.
And that was a huge competitive tool for member firms, wasn't it?
Yeah.
If you were a non-member, you might get MLS access, but you couldn't display all the data on your website.
Precisely. Your lead gen site was just less powerful. It created a real competitive distortion in the digital space.
So this policy change levels the playing field.
It aligns display rights with access rights. The big takeaway is that non-member participants can now get full IDX data where the MLS allows it.
So we have data parity.
Exactly. Non-member brokerages can build websites with equal search power, stronger SEO. You no longer have to join the association just to make sure your website is competitive. That is a foundational change for how brokerages compete online.
So moving on from agent and data access, let's look at how these shifts affect the contract between the agent and the seller. The national rules used to be really prescriptive about listing types.
That era of rigidity is definitely over.
The first big change here is the repeal of Policy 7.80A. We could call this the exclusive right to sell bias. This national policy basically signaled that this was the preferred standard contract type.
And its removal is so crucial for how the market is evolving. The market is demanding more limited service options, flat fee models, flexible commissions. That national bias was just cumbersome for brokerages trying to innovate with their pricing. By repealing it, the local MLS can now accept all sorts of different listing contracts that fit these modern consumer-driven models.
So you can really win on flexibility, not just fee. An agent can present 3 different contract options instead of just the one nationally preferred one.
Exactly. And that flexibility goes all the way down to the most basic listing types. Policy 7.62, which used to block open listings from being in the MLS at all, that's also been repealed.
So a local MLS can now, if it wants to, allow open listings.
At its own discretion, yes. It seems niche, but it lets more participants like certain investors or flippers use the MLS infrastructure. It removes another arbitrary constraint.
And this whole shift toward local discretion, it leads right into how data boundaries are managed. We had Policy 7.42, which was this legacy guidance on defining service areas.
That guidance was it was outdated, unenforceable in a digital world. Its removal means service area is now a purely local operational decision.
And strategically, why is that important?
Because it simplifies regional consolidation.
Right.
When MLSs want to merge or form partnerships, they aren't bound by these old national definitions of territory. It means broader coverage for agents with fewer logins.
Fewer logins, less friction. I like it. And speaking of friction and data flow, what about Policy 7.87, the National Syndication Rule?
Also repealed. This is a major win for local control over digital strategy. Syndication is now a local MLS decision.
So they can tailor their agreements, what data goes where, and under what terms.
Based on their local market strategy and legal risks, rather than having to stick to a rigid national framework that might not even serve their members best.
All right, let's turn to the final cluster of repeals. And these are really critical because they formally align the MLS handbook with all the massive legal shifts we've seen, especially around compensation and compliance.
Yeah, this is the part that connects it all back to the recent settlements.
Let's start with the one everyone was waiting for. The formal repeal of Policy 7.90, the one that mandated offers of compensation in the MLS.
This repeal really just finalizes the structural changes that were mandated by the legal settlements. Compensation fields were already removed from MLS systems back in 2024.
Right.
But repealing the policy removes the last piece of national administrative support for the concept. The outcome is crystal clear.
Compensation is handled entirely outside the MLS.
Entirely. Negotiated between the parties via buyer-broker agreements and on the listing side. The MLS becomes strictly a platform for cooperation and information, not compensation.
And it also reduces national compliance risk, which is a running theme here. We see the same thing in the timeframe repeals.
Policies 7.91 and 7.93, the ones that dictated national expectations for listing entry and update timeframes.
Both gone.
And those national mandates were so rigid, they often conflicted with what a local market needed, especially around coming soon listings or other marketing tactics. By removing them, NAR is getting rid of any potential confusion from the top.
So if you're an agent, you're no longer juggling a national expectation and a local rule. You just follow the specific local rule for listing entry and updates.
Which are usually what we call clear cooperation style rules.
Can you just quickly clarify that for the listener?
Sure. Clear cooperation style rules are just those local requirements that say if you publicly market a property on social media with a sign, whatever, it has to be in the MLS within a very short time frame, usually 1 business day.
But now that standard is only defined locally. No national complexity.
Exactly.
Okay, we've seen these rules simplify access, flexibility, and compliance. But there's one last kind of subtle operational change here that improves daily workflow for agents. Policy 7.47.
Right. This policy had these extremely detailed rules for minimum security on key repositories. Essentially, it was written for the technology of 20 years ago.
The old mechanical lockbox model.
Precisely. By repealing those prescriptive rules, MLSs aren't held back by regulations for obsolete tech. It makes it far easier and faster for them to adopt modern solutions.
Like Bluetooth digital lockboxes and integrated showing platforms.
All of which simplifies the showing and access process for every single agent.
So let's wrap this up. How do we summarize this massive transformation?
Well, the old world of MLS operation was centralized. It dictated mandatory membership, forced you to use national training templates, and had this structural bias towards certain listing types.
And the new world.
The new world is decentralized. It's agile. It's local. It offers customized, lighter training, flexible listing types, and access parity.
It removes the incentive to join an association just to get competitive IDX data.
Exactly. Power is shifting away from national mandates and toward local operational agility.
So what does this all mean for you? These 18 changes empower local MLSs and, really critically, the brokerages operating within them. They dramatically improve the cost and the speed of onboarding. If you're a brokerage owner, you're not just competing on brand anymore. You're competing on operational efficiency, cost management, and technological speed.
And that leads to the final question we should all be mulling over. Since the power has shifted so definitively to the local level, and since brokerages can now win on flexibility and offer huge cost savings by bypassing national dues,
what does that mean long-term?
What long-term implications does this have for the traditional franchise model? I mean, the source material highlighted that non-NAR brokerage models were already booming before these policies were repealed.
That's a great point.
So does this final removal of national structural requirements, which really supported that franchise model's consistency, does it just accelerate the shift toward these completely independent, non-affiliated, tech-forward brokerage models? The competitive landscape just got exponentially hotter.